So this is a little bit about voice leading. Voice leading is basically you take a chord progression and you build a melody into your chord progression by carefully arranging the voicings of the chords that you're doing so that there's a melody kind of contained within it. And it's something you may hear more than you realize. It's more common in jazz and stuff like that, classical, very much so. Except with classical, the rules for doing it, what you can and can't do, is much more strict. But you do hear it in other stuff too, like pop and rock, but not nearly as much. So I threw together just a little example of it, and I have I did a power tab for it. So I have I have a snapshot of the tab, and I have a video capture of the tab playing. What I don't have yet are the actual diagrams for the chords, which you're definitely going to want. I just haven't made them yet, and I kind of wanted to do a little video here before it got too late. And I can't go live for whatever reason. It keeps on just failing, crashing whenever I try to do it. This is probably my fourth. I tried like 4 times, and it just didn't do anything. No, it started, but like 45 seconds in, it just. So, well, what I have here is an example of something I threw together. Now, basically, what it is, it's an F major, and it has this melody in it. The melody goes. That's the melody that we have. Originally, I didn't have the very first F. I kind of added that in at the end just so I could do an F major chord with it to kind of establish the key, because for something like this, you may, if you're not used to hearing these types of chords or playing these types of chords, it may help a little bit to have that extra F major in the beginning. It doesn't necessarily have to be there, though, so I'm a little on the fence about whether I would even really leave that in there. I probably wouldn't, actually. So originally what it did is it had that same melody, it just did not have the first F to start with. So it would be like this. But it's in there now, and so I'm going to play it as if it is in there, as if it are in there. So basically that's our melody, though, just very very nice F major kind of melody. Now, ordinarily, a melody like that, I wouldn't play in that position. I would play it up here, probably. I mean, I guess that starts in the same place. Then, something like that. I wouldn't play it down there, but the reason why I'm playing it down there is just because I added chords in order to have them, in order to kind of build the melody into a chord progression. So I started with the melody first, and I added chords so that I would have both, basically. And this is really what voice leading is. So, and what I'm saying is that the chords are down here. I'm not playing chords down here, so that's why I'm playing the melody in that position, because that's the same locations I'm going to be playing the notes at using the voice leading. It won't necessarily be with the same fingers, the same fingerings, but that's okay. That doesn't have to be. You don't have to play the melody just to play the melody with the same fingers that you're doing with the chords. But anyway, here's what we have. So I just started the very first one. Is going to be an F major, as I was saying, just to kind of establish it. So the next note in the melody would be this one. And I use this chord here, which is this is a G7, a G7 sus4. And I'm going to be strumming the chords, I guess, in a way to kind of highlight the melody notes. Like I structured it so that the highest note of every chord is the note from the melody. Basically, it's not always like that, but you're going to have your melody should be in the same register throughout. So I mean, like, you don't want to have like the first note of your melody being, like tenor, and then the next one, soprano, and then, like bass, and then alto. That's kind of what I'm getting at. You want it to all be within the same register, basically, or else it's just not really going to sound like a melody. So for this case, yeah, just the highest note of every chord is the melody note. So I'm probably going to be strumming in a way to where I highlight that, maybe like a slower strum, and when I strum, I'm going to hit that first note, accent it a little harder, just so you can hear it. But so F major, I guess the extra first note would be that one there. So, and then we had this one, which is a G7 sus4. And then the next note is that one there, and I use this chord, which is a B flat major 7. So we have. Next note is this one, this B flat. For this note, I added in a B flat minor 7 flat 5. And again, I'm going to have chord charts to go with this, so I don't have to really spell out all of the chords in too great a detail. Plus, there's going to be a tab along with this. And so this is a B flat minor 7 flat 5. And the B flat, I'm not doing the bass note right there, the B flat there. I'm doing it here on top. But that is what this chord is. B flat minor 7 flat 5 like that. Or taking that off there, putting it on top, and you get that. So anyway, that's the third chord. So we have. And then the next note after that was a G there. Now for this one, I messed around with a couple of different ones, and I settled on it's an A7 and a kind of a stretched out, more uncommon voicing. So that is just a regular A7 chord, and it's in root position. So there's like a 1, a 3, a 5, and a flat 7 there. So far we have. And then our next note is back up to the A, and for this one, what I did was this is a G minor 9. Kind of doing like a minor 7, like that, and then putting the 9 on top. But I'm just not bothering with the bottom G right now. So a lot of these, most of these chords are just the ones I was talking about the other day, where they're all in the top 4 strings. But a G minor 9. Next note was this one. For this one, I used this chord here, which is going onto the 5th string. This one can be kind of tricky to play. This is a D, D flat 7 flat 9. And I know it kind of looks like just like a jumble of barred notes there, but this is really what that is. It's kind of just taking, it's like the 4th fret on your 5th string, 4th fret on your 3rd string, 4th fret on your 1st string. And it's the 3rd fret on your 2nd string, 3rd fret on your 4th string. So what you do is the 1st finger is really barring, just so it can cover the 4th string and the 2nd string, and then you add in your other ones there. So it's kind of a tough bar. Middle finger, 1st finger barring, ring finger, 1st finger barring, pinky there. So that's a D flat 7 flat 9 chord. Next note in the melody was this one again. And for this one, this G, the chord that I used, is it's a E diminished 7 chord. Like like that. That one's not too bad. That's just like 2, 3, 2, 3. And then, getting back to our root note that we started with, F. Now, I was playing just like, I was just kind of playing around with different F chords there, and it just didn't quite have the same effect that I was hearing. And so what I wound up doing is getting a little bit clever with it, and using this chord along with it. This is this would be like a G flat major 7 chord. So this way, the F is still the highest note, but I'm doing that in a G flat chord, which you don't expect to hear. So that's a really cool effect. And when I play everything sequentially, like when I play all the chords, then you'll get a better idea of what it sounds like having that in there. But that is the next note in our melody, and that is a G flat major 7. And then I did that again. This is where we go back into the F sort of a thing. When I play that F note a second time, the next chord is it's just like a F sus 4. Just, just regular 3, 3, 1, 1. And then we have this note here, and that note there, just like a B flat and an A. And what I did here is I'm just doing little dyads. Really, this one is just like an F with a B flat in it. So that's still kind of like a sus4 sort of a thing, even though it's only 2 notes, part of a sus4 chord. But it functions it still functions as that sus4 chord, even though this is all this really is. It's if you want to look at it as being an F and then a perfect 4th interval above the F. Or you can look at that as being like a B flat 5th chord, like a power chord, and having a F in the bass. But it's really more of the F is the 1, and then you're just having a perfect 4th on top of that. Because let me go to this. I'm just taking the B flat there, and then I'm playing an A instead. So there we have a F major interval there, just like a dyad. Back to the last chord, the very ending chord, it goes back up to the F, and this is where we just resolve it with a F major. Yeah, I know I'm a little bit out of tune, but you'll forgive me for that. So, I'm going to go back and recap everything here. So, the melody, all the notes go like this. Oh, I forgot about that F. Now, for the rhythm, it doesn't really have a rhythm. The Power Tab video capture that I have, it just has it as all just quarter notes. There's not really much of a rhythm to it. Now, when I play it, there are certain chords that I play faster than others. I mean, there is somewhat of a rhythm to it. Here, I'll show what I mean by that. When we get to the you'll hear that those notes are noticeably faster. So if everything else was just like quarter notes, those are kind of like eighth notes, and even building down to that from the like quarter, quarter, these are kind of like eighth notes too. I play them a little bit more quickly than the others. So, I mean, it doesn't have a strict rhythm, but you're going to hear that there is less space in between certain chords there, just to kind of not make it nothing but quarter notes, because that's a little bit bland. So it's more of like a rubato sort of thing, free feeling, no real sort of time signature. It's going to be in 4/4 just because it has to be in something. But that's kind of with something like this, it gives you the freedom if you're not used to playing chords like this. Also, it gives you time to adjust and get your changes down without being off rhythm. And that's one of the cool things about playing anything in rubato. Okay, so anyway, one more time. So that was our melody, just an F major, and all it is, it's a 1, it's like a 5, 3, 4, 2, 3, like a flat 3, sharp 9, to a 2, to a 1, and then does a 1 again, goes down to a 4, to a 3, back to a 1, 4, 3, 1. And that is the melody, and just adding the chords in with it, and that's where we get what the voice leading actually is. So these were the chords now. Let's go over them individually one more time. So we start with the F major. Then up to here we have a G7 sus4. And then we had a B flat major 7. And then we had a B flat minor 7 flat 5 to a A7 to a G minor 9 to a D flat 7 flat 9 to a E diminished 7 to a G flat major 7 to a F sus4 to part of a F sus4 to part of a F major to an F major. And playing them sequentially, we get this. The hesitations in there are because I was forgetting the chords from one to the next. Let me try that again. I didn't play any of them wrong, though, so that is something to be happy about. I almost missed that A major, or that A7 chord. It's a bit of a stretch, though, so you can forgive me for that. Okay, so try it again. So, still a little bit tricky. I mean, remembering what to play is half the battle here, and I don't have a window up right now with the tab or anything, so I'm just trying to do it strictly by memory. It takes a couple of times through before I really remember what it is that I'm even trying to do. So let's try it again. All right, so that one was I had no problems with that one. Try it again. This, the A7 chord, I think is probably for me at least, the hardest chord in here. But I'm also used to doing certain chords like the 7 flat 9, which could be tough. The like B flat minor 7 flat 5. It's a little bit easier to play it like this, I would say, than like this. But for this one, most of that hesitation isn't from difficulty in fingering the chord. It's just remembering to play that chord there. So this one is the big problem. And I was talking about how you could hear that when you got down to here, and I did the G flat major 7 chord, how it has a kind of it forms a deceptive resolution, and listen to that one along with the chords that come before it. You want to hear the E diminished chord go straight to the F, which is not what I'm allowing it to do. See, that's where your ear wants to hear the resolution, but I did. Kind of put I put the resolution off by a beat or so by doing a G flat major 7 before going to the F, and even kind of drew it out a little bit more by going, because you want to hear the G minor 9, D flat minor 7 flat 9, E diminished 7 to a F major. And I didn't even give it the F major, I gave it an F sus4 first, before finally going to the major. So it kind of delays the resolution there by what you want to hear by a couple of chords, but it does so without making it sound nonsensical. And this is just a really cool example of voice leading that I had been throwing. I kind of started thinking about this yesterday. I really didn't want to just rush into it and start a video without knowing what it is I was even trying to do, because that's the point of voice leading, is that you are carefully choosing your voicings so that you can build the melody into what you're doing. It's supposed to make sense, and it's putting a lot of thought into it. You can do like simplified versions of this sort of thing. I did think about this a little bit. I didn't really work anything out, but that's okay in this case. Say I took the same sort of a melody, with more like a simplified chord progression. You could do something like and then maybe like a maybe like a yeah, like doing like a B flat major there would work. Same sort of thing, but in that case I was just using like easy sort of. This is just kind of like a like I did an F major, and then what I did here was just kind of like it's an F major power chord basically, but I put a fifth in the bass as well. So that, and then I went to that right there, which is F major. It just has that note on top. Then I went to a B flat major here. I had that note on top. Then I went to a G minor. Have that one there. Then I just kind of did minor chords here. Back to F major here. And then I did the same sort of a partial F sus4, partial F major there. So you can hear how that's the same sort of concept of going from beginning to end there. It has the same melody built into it. Just using much easier to deal with chords, and it sounds fine, especially considering there's really no work. I really didn't work that out at all. But the more advanced version, yes, it's a lot harder to play. But again, I mean, there's nothing wrong with ever learning how to do more and more chords, tougher chords. Especially if you start adding in a melody to the top of it. It's a whole different dimension of composition basically. So let's go through that again. So missed a string there. Try that again. Oh, man. Just, there's, I don't know what it is about me. There's always one chord that doesn't go right. And that's not a terrible record, but I would like to be able to get through it more than once consecutively. Okay, there's one. Let's try it again. We're gonna count that as 2. So yeah, that's a little bit about voice leading. It's really cool stuff you may have never even thought about approaching the way that you construct chords in such a way, and if not, that's fine, because I think that's something that most people really don't do unless the concept is introduced to them. You might have. I don't know if I did or not. If I did, then it was kind of accidental. Like there may have been putting a melody in there and just not really realizing that's what I was doing. But that's what actually consciously trying to do it. And one final note is that there wasn't any harmony involved in picking out those chords. I didn't use any theory or anything like that. That was simply taking the melody and finding the chords that I was kind of hearing in my head before bringing them out and finding out what they were. But I was not using any theory or anything like that when I chose those chords. And a lot of the chords there, I tried a couple of different ones before settling on the one that I used, because there's so many variations of you do this, small changes. Do you want to do like that, or do you want to do that? Do you want to do that? You can do that. You can do that. You can do like that. There's so many different ways to play something that's kind of like this, and having that note, in this case the C, as the high note. So I tried out a couple of different choices for each of the melody notes there before I settled on the one that I wanted. And so yeah, that's what we had. One more time. So I'll just cover everything one more time real quick. So the melody was, it starts with the F in F major, and then we have a C, then we have A, B flat, G, A flat, G, back to F, and it does the F again. It goes down to a B flat, down to A, up to F. And the scale degrees for that are 1, 5, 3, 4, 2, 3, like flat 3, or sharp 2, sharp 9, whatever, to a 2, to a 1, 4, 3, 1. And the chords themselves were F major, G7 sus4, B flat major 7, B flat minor 7 flat 5, A7, G minor 9, D flat 7 flat 9, E diminished 7, G major 7, F sus4, F sus4, F major, and all together. So there you go, a little bit about voice leading in the key of F major. And yeah, I'll put up the tab snip, the power tab video, and I'll have some chord charts maybe tomorrow.